A man who is near the beaches and will be in Malibu today for the game on BYU Radio. He's the voice of the Cougars. His name is Greg Wrubell. He's on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Gregory, what is up this morning?
Good morning, brethren.
How we doing?
We're doing great.
We're
in California.
Yes.
You tweeted out a photo on the beach, so it sounds like things are just going quite swell right now. How is the weather this morning?
It's gorgeous. It's I'm guessing it's somewhere in the 60s, headed for somewhere in the 70s, and I don't see a cloud in the sky, and I already had a run on Venice Beach, and life is beautiful.
There's a lot to discuss with you, most of which has to do with BYU and Pepperdine, but we talked with Mark Duran on Monday about his kitten shirt. Will you be wearing any animal print shirts at some point?
Absolutely not.
Can you confirm that Mark has the kitten shirt with him?
I'm afraid to ask.
Guess we'll all find out soon enough, just a couple of hours. So, Greg, the interesting thing, and I guess this is a question that really we won't know until game time, and that's kind of what Coach Rose said, but we all heard the news that Pepperdine and Marty Wilson will part ways at the end of the season. So what type of effect do you think that news will have on tonight's game?
Well, the Waves have already been playing pretty hard. When they were missing Cameron Edwards, who's a great scorer, is when they had some of their worst struggles of the season. Since he's been back, they're a better basketball team. And while they are losing games, they're in games and in games for longer. So they're playing hard, and Dave Rose sees that. And then when it comes to Pepperdine and BYU, well, they've always played BYU hard. You have to go back to the fact that BYU hasn't won here in 5 years to see how well Pepperdine plays when the Cougars are in town. And you get one of those weird, small venue dynamics where BYU brings so many fans, it turns on the opposing team, the home team in this case, and it turns on even the smaller faction of home fans. And so BYU's encountered this at many places where the fact that BYU brings so many people into venues, and sometimes a greater preponderance of fans into these venues, the home team takes some motivation from it, and the home fans tend to get a little louder and prouder. And you've seen that, and I've seen that the last few years at Pepperdine. And BYU tends to, and Dave, I think might concur with this, maybe even kind of talked about this. BYU's gotten a little bit impatient at Firestone Fieldhouse, especially if they lose a lead, they start to feel a little edgy, and you can tell that things get a little skittery. And foul trouble's been an issue. Then you lose some of your better players, to the whistle. And so it's been kind of an unfortunate confluence of events at Pepperdine in recent seasons. And so, the Marty Wilson factor, getting back to your original question, is a factor. But they've always played well for him and well against BYU here. So I don't know that they could do a whole lot more or a whole lot better for Marty and the Waves than they've done historically against the Cougars.
BYU's lost 3 in a row on the road. They lost 4 in a row in Malibu. So there's certain stats that certainly don't line up going into this game. Yeah, this is a team that BYU really handled in the first game. So why do you expect tonight to maybe be different?
Well, I think what BYU did last week was important. Even though they didn't dominate San Francisco, the way they came back to win that game, I hope provides a springboard of sorts to what's to come. And BYU does have 3 straight road games of their final 4 here to end the season. And we'll get to it in our stat, but BYU's been a good road team in the Dave Rose era. And this is a nice chance to, if not exactly exercise some demons, show that road strength is still something to count on here down the stretch.
Well, you mentioned it, the road record, which is part of our A stat that matters.
So of the previous 10 seasons under Dave Rose, BYU's had a losing true away record only 1 time. And with a win tonight, or with BYU's next true away win, BYU will be assured of at least a 500 record in true away games for a 10th time in 11 seasons. And so Dave Rose's record really relies on a lot of different consistent hallmarks. And one of them is true away play or play away from home. And BYU's been very good there and very consistent there. And consistency is the hallmark of the Dave Rose era. We've talked about it, 20 wins in every season, double-digit conference wins in every season, no more than 6 league losses ever in every season. And so he just kind of, ticks off these different statistical mileposts year after year without much variation. And road play, away play, is one of those consistent attributes of the Dave Rose era.
At LMU, Elijah Bryant gets hit in the head, and he doesn't play a great game at Gonzaga against Santa Clara and San Francisco. Still scores 14, only shot 8 times. Do you think that Elijah Bryant takes more than 10 shots tonight?
Let's see. He's averaging well more than that, and so the last 2 games are the outliers. And I think the LMU game had an obvious carryover into the Gonzaga game. The numbers show it. He could not have been feeling himself that night after getting rung up at LMU and then getting taken a knee or a leg injury early in that Gonzaga game. So I look at that Gonzaga game as the ultimate outlier because he wasn't feeling well, could not have been feeling well. But I would say that Elijah takes at least 10 shot attempts tonight, yes.
It's interesting because we always talk about regardless win or loss, once that game's done, you move on to the next one. But I am curious what type of effect you think, especially the way that the San Francisco game played out with all of the drama and, everybody just, elated after that, obviously. What type of effect can a game like that have on a team, especially not just in the next one, but moving forward?
Well, I think in BYU's case, it's a matter of confidence. If we can do that, what can't we do? It was among the most improbable results of the college basketball season. And so I think for BYU to get that done, the emotions of the night have long since worn off. And you can't say it's going to be a direct carryover just from an emotional standpoint, but you can say it could carry over from a confidence standpoint. The things they had to do, the number of things in succession they had to do, almost everything has to go right to get that win. And that said, it wasn't like, for example, I saw the Bucknell game a couple of nights ago. They were down, I think, 10 in the final minute, came back to win. But one of the things about that Bucknell game was the other team didn't get possession. The other team would have turned it over. The other team, I think, committed a technical foul. And there were sequences without them getting possession. But USF actually had possession and actually scored on possessions and forced BYU to score even more. So what BYU did, I think, was doubly remarkable for the fact that USF even got a few points scored in those final 30 seconds, and BYU still found a way to get it done.
Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars, is on BYU Sports Nation, getting ready for BYU at Pepperdine tonight, 9 Eastern Time, pregame on BYU Radio. The other day on BYU Basketball at Dave Rose, we had a shocking revelation from Heath Schroyer saying that one of his favorite bands was Nickleback. Now, we went on to research this and discovered that Nickleback actually will be playing in Vegas around the West Coast Conference Tournament. If Heath and I go to Nickleback, would you join us, Greg?
I don't know. It depends on the schedule, how much work has to be done, and how things shape up. But of course, they are Canadian, and I'd be lying if I didn't say if I said that I didn't have any Nickelback in my Apple Music library. I do, and so I think it's a judgmental society that takes a look or looks down their nose at bands like that. So I think we all need to. Show a little more love and respect everyone else's choices, and realize that music is music, and it's made by many different people, and you can like many different things.
Amen, Greg. Like they sold 50 million. They sold 50 million albums. All right, people like them.
Way more serious than I was hoping for.
Hey, but that's the truth, though. You can't be judgmental about people's musical tastes. I've got some of that. I've got some of everything. I've got so many different things in my library. And you can't cast aspersions on what someone likes or doesn't like in the way of music. Whatever sounds good to your ear sounds good to your ear. And they're earnest music makers. They made a lot of money doing it, drawn a lot of crowds doing it, and it's kind of sad how they become kind of like a punchline for a society that kind of disparages their earnest attempts to make a living and express their art. So yeah, it may sound serious, but it's sincere.
Friday, March 2nd, we'll be there at the Hard Rock then. That's what I just learned.
You guys are going to go. I like it. All right, we wanted to ask you this, Greg. Yesterday at the Olympics, United States, Canada, they played in hockey. Canada won, but the two fought each other. There was a fight.
That wasn't a fight.
Okay, but it's being called a fight.
No, it wasn't a fight.
Okay.
Are we talking about the end of the game, goalmouth scramble? That thing at the end there?
Yes.
That's nothing.
Here's my question.
That's nothing.
Okay, so that's fine. My question to you is, during your days growing up in Canada, playing hockey as I know you did, how many times have you dropped the gloves?
I never dropped the gloves for real. Like, we would do it for fun if we're playing street hockey or shinny in the rink. We'd have fun, but never in a real game. because we were well-behaved kids, and really you don't drop the gloves until you get a little older. And so, never had a fight in anger. I will say on the ice or even off the ice, I've never thrown a punch in anger in any forum in my life. And I'm 50. I'm a man. I'm 50.
All right, let's end it with the much anticipated a cool thing about Canada, Gregory.
Well, the Olympics are going on, and Canada's off to a great start. 13 medals already. I think that has Canada tied for third, I think, in total medals. So it's been a tremendous start for Canada. And I'll turn the eighth cool thing about Canada into a question for you guys. So there are 2 Olympic sports in which Canada has the all-time lead in total medals won at the Winter Olympics. Mm-hmm. Which 2 sports are they?
Curling and hockey?
There you go. Could it be any other 2?
Well, the fact that we were able to answer so quickly, that's you guys dominate those. I mean, just know going into an Olympics,
yes.
That's what we're going to come home with.
Yes.
So there have been 5 previous Winter Olympics since 1998 in which curling was an official sport. Canada's won a medal in all 5 of them, women and men. That's 10. Then they won the new event, mixed doubles curling, already this time. That's 11. So they won 11 curling medals, and they've won 20 hockey medals, women and men, over the years. So in those 2 sports, Canada leads the way in total medals won at the Winter Olympics.
Well, amen to that. And Canada is certainly ahead of the U.S. right now in total medals, I believe. So
yeah, they are actually. Yeah, I think U.S. is sitting around the 7 or 8. I think after Michaela Schifrin, and Canada's already up at 13. So good for them. Good for both. And I love Olympics time. I can't get enough of it.
Okay, Greg Wrubell, we appreciate the time. We'll listen to you tonight on BYU Radio.
All right, boys, and it's on BYUtv as well, and it's on BYUtv and radio again on Saturday too.
Okay, that's Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars, on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.